Somebody's got to know something. My son was murdered. He was shot. And I want you to look at my son. Look at my son.
You're putting all of your faith, hope, and trust into these people in the police department, and you have to just sit back and just hope and pray that they do what needs to be done.
Ophelia Nicholas is known as Mama Tot on TikTok. Her popular channel is nothing but positivity, peace, and life advice. But when her 18-year-old son, Randon, was unalived in June 2022, she used her channel to get all the attention she could. That way, she hoped someone would come forward with information, or at least Randon's killer could see the damage he had done. Before long, answers were found, and a suspect was arrested. Reuben Gully, in prison today because of Ophelia's TikTok, or Alabama law enforcement. And why did Randon lose his life that night? Is his death connected to a deeper problem in the United States? This is the full story of Randon Lee and Ophelia Nichols. In the last days of June 2022, Mama Tot posted a new video on her TikTok account. Mama Tot's 7 million fans expected another positive message, inspiring peace and love. But this time her video was shockingly different.
I ain't never asked y'all for anything, but I need your help with this. There's almost 7 million people that follow me. Somebody's got to know something.
On the evening of June 24th, law enforcement in Mobile, Alabama contacted Mama Tot, real name Ophelia Nichols, with tragic news. Her youngest son had just lost his life.
My son was murdered. He was shot. And I want you to look at my son. Look at my son.
Ophelia appealed to her audience. She wanted everyone to get a good look at the young, innocent boy whose life had just been taken. It was a senseless act, and Ophelia was desperate as she did not know what exactly had happened. Moreover, she was outraged at the thought that her son's killer was still out there, possibly putting other lives in danger.
They're out there, living and breathing, when my son is dead.
Mama Tot's TikTok was not only meant to emphasize the tragedy that she was going through. Ophelia was hoping that with millions of people watching it, someone is bound to know something about what happened, especially since most of her followers also lived in Alabama.
Somebody knows who did this to my child, and I'm asking for somebody's help. Anybody's. Please. Please.
Well, look at you. You done made it a whole nother year, honey. It's 2024. And you might have fought with yourself a whole hell of a lot of times last year, but you're not gonna do that this year.
These are the kinds of videos Mama Tot posts on her TikTok on a daily basis.
Anyway, go watch the podcast, okay?
She encouraged her followers to see the silver lining in difficult situations, to leave toxic environments, and to grow into mature, healthy, happy people. She also gushed over her family from time to time. One of her loved ones was her son, Randon Lee.
Here's my youngest. Y'all, that's my baby child right there.
Randon was getting ready for his 19th birthday party on June 25th, 2022. Just one day before his birthday, though, his mother was visited by authorities with the worst kind of news. On June 24th, Randon drove out to a gas station in Pritchard, a suburban area of Mobile, across the road, where he collapsed. When paramedics arrived at the scene, it was a minute too late. Randon had lost a lot of blood and could not be revived. Law enforcement assured Ophelia they would do whatever was in their power to catch the culprit and make sure he didn't walk the streets again. But like most people following true crime cases, Ophelia knew the wheels of justice move slowly. She also knew that if she was unlucky enough, the detectives might never catch her son's killer. Sometimes there's not enough DNA evidence or CCTV footage to track down another suspect. Sometimes cases simply go cold. So, Ophelia decided to put her large fan base to good use. After releasing her heartfelt TikTok, Ophelia gained attention throughout the United States. That's when Fox News contacted her for an interview. It was there that she explained why she wanted her followers to know what had happened.
People talk. People talk. So, I wanted that video to be seen because if the person who did this to my son could see what he did to our family, he took my son from me. My son. you're putting all of your faith, hope, and trust into these people in the police department, and you have to just sit back and just hope and pray that they do what needs to be done.
So Ophelia was hoping that one of her 7 million followers would have a relevant piece of information, or at the very least, she was hoping the culprit would watch the video and feel an ounce of regret.
You see other people go through stuff like this, and it never crosses your mind that would one day be you. To have an individual make the choice to take your child from you. He had a choice. They had a choice. And they chose to take my son from me.
Within the first days of the investigation, Pritchard law enforcement discovered CCTV footage from the gas station where Randon's life was taken.
Watch the guy running around a gas pump and then jumping in a car. You can clearly see a gun in his hand. Now, this is the moment right after Lee was shot inside his car at that Pritchard gas station.
So the detectives knew they were looking for the guy in the red hoodie. They also had his black car caught on surveillance footage. In the unedited footage, which has not been released to the public, the culprit is seen arriving first and parking at a gas pump. 1 minute later, Randon arrives in a silver car and parks at the opposite gas pump. That's when the man in the red hoodie jumps out of his car, gets into Randon's car, and pulls the trigger. Within seconds, he makes it back into his car, weapon in hand, and darts away. Randon is also seen driving away. Sadly, he only makes it to the gas station across the road, where he crashes and passes away. By the end of June, the Mobile County Sheriff had a press conference detailing all the authorities knew so far.
Black vehicle got inside the victim's vehicle. We know there was one shot. The suspect got out of the victim's vehicle with a handgun and got back in his black vehicle and took off.
There was another vital clue.
We do know at this time that Mr. Lee had made his way down to Wilmer and was selling narcotics to these two individuals.
Indeed, Randon had met up with the culprit and his associate to sell them weed. It's unknown how they came in contact with each other or how many times they had met in the past.
There was narcotics found in the vehicle whenever the crime scene unit processed the scene. At this time, we do have a couple of suspects in mind, but at this time we are not releasing any information on them.
As it goes with most pending investigations, the sheriff did not release the names of the suspects until they had one in custody. It's a tricky time. You have to release as many clues as possible, just in case the public has relevant information. But you have to leave out whatever clues might actually impede arresting someone. During the Q&A phase, the sheriff revealed that this was not Randon's first time selling narcotics to people.
We do know at this time that Mr. Lee did have a relationship as far as selling to different individuals. It just wasn't them two individuals. We do know on multiple towns that he was selling, and these two individuals has bought from him in the past.
So even though he was only 18, Randon had a pretty dangerous way of making quick cash. Unfortunately, he put his trust in dealing to two men who had no intention of paying that night. As this case was gaining nationwide traction due to Ophelia's big fan base, the sheriff was also asked if they were prioritizing this case over others. He assured the public they were not.
This homicide is not more important than any homicide we've had in the city of Pritchard or actually anywhere. I realize that Ms. Nichols has a TikTok following, which is great, and all those followers could help by calling in if they have any information. Any slight, minuscule, information that we get, it's good to follow up on. It may lead to nothing, however, it may lead to something, as well. We just ask, that, any information that you have, that you think you might have, call in. You can talk to me, and, they will relay that information.
Throughout the summer of 2022, authorities pieced together information, and Randon's family took to the internet, pleading for anyone with any relevant information to phone local law enforcement. His family also went out to celebrate his 19th birthday in his absence.